There we go. We are recording. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Back to Basics Growth for tonight. So I'm going to cover quite an interesting topic this evening, and I think based on the amount of people on the call tonight, that it's quite relevant and pertinent to everyone. It certainly is to me, and it's been a wonderful growth for me to learn this technique and go through it. And that is how to stop negative thought before it gains momentum and takes over our minds and our lives, and brings that horrible feeling that we get where it's just snowballs, and the day gets worse and worse and worse. So I don't know how many of you follow Abraham Hicks. I'm going to use some of Abraham's teachings and some of the other teachings that I've learned through the years, and we're going to talk about that and see how we go. And please, this is an interactive. I hope you guys have got pen and paper, because the technique I'm going to teach you, I'm going to need you guys to do a little exercise with me. It takes a few minutes. It's very simple, but I want you guys to make a note so that you can record it and use this technique anytime. You can use it in traffic. You can use it wherever you are. You don't necessarily have to close your eyes, although that does help sometimes. But so it's a technique you can use anywhere. You're standing in a queue at a bank, sitting in an office, talking on the phone. Someone says something negative. You can use this technique very quickly, and it takes a couple of seconds. It takes a bit of getting used to in the beginning, and I'll talk a bit about that later. But beautiful. I call it the mind release technique. It's we all use cell phones and computers, and we all know that computers particularly have a certain amount of memory. And as you start opening more and more applications, the memory gets less and less. And our minds work like that as well. So at some point, we don't have a reboot switch. We can't just reboot the brain. There is a way to go and sleep. You can sleep and then do that, or if you're fortunate enough to be an expert meditator, you can do that. So like a computer, you can just reboot the computer and then it carries on functioning again until you open too many applications again. So I'm going to teach you a technique where you can actually reboot the brain very quickly without having to have your lights punched out or go and sleep. But it's a nice quick 2-second or 3-second process, and it works really, really well. It takes a bit of practice in the beginning, and that's why I want you guys to have pen and paper ready to write it down. So we're going to start off with, we all know negative thoughts affect our lives, and there's a big difference between negative and positive thoughts. People keep saying to themselves, I mustn't have negative thoughts, and I must think positively all the time. I'll never forget, I did a course with John Demartini many, many years ago, and when he started his personal development journey, he heard from someone that an exercise that he did for an entire year. He kept these little cards, these little 2x4 cards, and he kept them in his pocket, and he had a column for pluses and column for minuses. And what he did during the day is, every time he had a negative thought, he would put a minus, and every time he had a positive thought, he'd put a plus. And at the end of the day, he would total them up and then write it down in a book. And he did this for an entire year. And he was astounded to find out that in that year, he had exactly the same positive as well as exactly the same negative thoughts in an entire year. Yet he felt exactly the same. Nothing had changed in his life. So what we'd say is that the positive thoughts and the negative thoughts, positive thoughts never really affect us. It's people say, I'll use an example. If you think about R1 million, right? R1 million is a positive thought, having R1 million. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a good thing to think that thought, because if you have a scarce mentality and you think of having R1 million, and then you're worried about who's going to be friends with you, immediately that positive thought becomes a negative thought. And it's not about the actual thought that you have, it's about the feeling that thought creates in you. Now, the law of attraction says that, and I'm just going to quote from Abraham, that says, that which is like unto itself is drawn. And basically what that means is, and that's about feeling, it's not about thought. So thoughts create feelings. So if you have a negative thought and you start to feel negative, you'll attract more of that. I mean, how many of us have noticed that we wake up in the morning, and as the day starts going through, we start having these, I've got to do this today, and I've got to go there, and I've got to go there, and that one's going to argue with me, and that one's going to fight with me. And then we get in the car and we start driving to work, and we get caught at every robot. And then people cut in front of us, and then someone shouts at us and someone hoots at us or throws us the finger, or things just start to go really wrong and you get to work and you have a fight with your boss. And we've all had these experiences. Well, that's what happens, you know. Things that are likened to itself are attracted or drawn. And because we felt bad, we've attracted more of that. And you'll be amazed at how we all manifest very quickly. Even if you're a beginner and you don't really understand Abraham, the law of attraction is working whether you know it or not. It's like gravity. It's there. Whether I want to believe gravity exists or even understand how it works, it's there. If I jump off a building, I'm going to hit the ground. The law of attraction does work the same as gravity, whether we want to. So the key here is to try and get to a point where we can limit the amount of negative thoughts or catch them in time before they expand and grow and create a negative feeling inside of us. And I'm busy pointing to my chest because it's a feeling of anxiety that we feel. So the law of attraction is about feeling. You know, it's that feeling that we create. When we're happy, we create a feeling. I mean, have you noticed that when you're happy and you're feeling happy, you attract happy? And that's exactly what the law of attraction says. So what I'm going to teach a little bit later on is the difficulty that most of us have is, first of all, catch a negative thought. You know, we get wrapped up sometimes in our own thinking, and at sort of 15 or 20 minutes later, we go, oh my word, I've been thinking negatively for 15 or 20 minutes. And you've built up this momentum, and it's very difficult then to stop that and turn your life around and take a U-turn and try and think of something different or try and be positive. And I'm going to teach us a little technique later on that's actually two techniques, one from Abraham and one from something that I've learned over the years that I've used extremely successfully. So something that's that I learned, a nice analogy that I like to use is, if I've got two seeds, I've got a tomato seed and I've got a nightshade seed. And if you know, nightshade's one of the most poisonous plants on the planet. And in the chat window, could somebody just give me an answer here? Let's have a look and see. If I plant both seeds, all right, which seed will grow? Can anyone tell me quickly in the chat window who they think, if I plant both seeds, which seed will grow? One is a tomato seed, which is a positive seed, and one is a nightshade, which is a negative seed. Anybody want to guess which seed will grow? Correct, Carly, both. In fact, both will grow if I nurture both. But the one that I give the attention to will grow the most. The one you water, exactly, Lisa, that's quite correct. The one that I water will grow the most. Guys, just a question. Are you seeing my video, or are you seeing a picture of Kylie's profile? Just a quick question could someone just tell me?
Can see your profile, Ian.
Oh, you see me? Okay, cool, lekker.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So here's the key. So whichever one we feed is the one that will grow the most. So if we're constantly feeding negative thoughts, we're going to create that negative momentum. We're going to create that nightshade is going to grow, and that negative thought's going to grow. Not to say that a nightshade plant is dangerous, but you know, it's all negative, but it's only if you don't consume the plant. Yes, I'm not knocking nightshade plants, please. So yes, the one that we feed will grow. So it's important for us to have the ability to stop a negative thought before it gains momentum. And so I'll use this analogy that Abraham teaches is a question that's often asked is, you know, how do I stop a negative thought before it gains momentum? Well, you don't have it. You stop it before it continues. Don't have the thought. So it's very difficult to control our thoughts, but it's very easy to catch it in the beginning. And an analogy is, imagine if your car's parked at a very steep hill, and Abraham uses the story of, you know, in San Francisco Bay, and I don't know if you know San Francisco, it's built on quite a steep hill, and right at the bottom is San Francisco Bay. And if you take your car that's parked on sort of a level place just before the hill, and you take the handbrake off and you take it out of gear, and you give it a little nudge and it starts going down, if you let it go down for a couple of 100 meters, there's no ways that you can stop it. If you go and stand in front of that car, it's going to run around straight over you. And that's what happens with negative thought. Now, the best way to stop it is, as you take the handbrake off and it starts going forward, if you run and nudge it with your knee, you can stop it. And that's the point, is to try and grab that thought before it gains momentum, because when it gains momentum, it keeps going. So Abraham teaches 17 seconds. You have 17 seconds of thought that creates a feeling in you to stop it before it goes on, because the minute it goes 17 seconds, it creates another momentum of another 17 seconds and another 17 seconds. 4 times 17 seconds, 68 seconds, and then you're out of control. And then that will just run wild until you feel really bad. And then you start to manifest things in your life that go wrong. So stop it in the first 17 seconds. And I'm going to teach you a little technique how to do that. So this comes with practice. So you have to practice this, because in the beginning, I know for me, I used to forget. I used to forget that I had a technique, and these thoughts would just go rampant, and they'd get out of control. And then I would not want to do anything. I would just want to go sleep, because all I could do was think negatively. And after time, with this practice of this technique, I was able to then stop those in time, and I can do it today. Very quickly, within a few seconds, I know that I have a negative feeling, mainly because I manifest things very quickly. When that thought comes, I start feeling bad. I go, oh, wait a second. Okay, negative thought, let's move it. And I use the technique to change that. So are there any questions so far? Anybody got a question or a comment? Nope, nothing in the chat window. Okay, cool. So I've covered the 17 seconds. So one of the key things is to make sure that we stop it before it gains momentum. So I've used the car analogy, and so let's get into the technique. Have you guys got pen and paper handy? Could I get a couple of yeses, and we're going to do, it's about a 10 or 15 minute exercise that we're going to do, and then we're going to have a little discussion and some participation. Okay, thanks. Yes. Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, great. Okay, so I call this what I like to call the mind reset technique, and I learned it about, must have been about 2015, so about 4 years ago, and it took me a couple of weeks to get this. So the key here is to be able to catch the thought before it creates a feeling in you, because once it creates a feeling, then it generates momentum. So now we bombarded all day with negative thoughts. You drive in the road, innocently driving on the road, and you happen to look up, and on a pole, a light pole, there's a news headline, so and so, something happened to so and so, and immediately that spurs a negative thought. So we bombarded with advertising, newspapers, television. People at work are generally mostly negative, especially in the corporate world. I mean, I've just stepped out of the corporate world, and one of the main reasons why I believe I was retrenched was I was too happy. I was known as Mr. Happy in the office, and somebody who's happy all the time cannot be controlled or manipulated, and people don't like that in a corporate environment. They want to keep people subdued and in fear, because in fear you can control people. Well, that's my thought on that, and that's why I think and believe why I was retrenched recently. And in fact, I've got sort of 5 days left. I'm still working my notice period in the company, and then I'm free, and super excited, because I can now focus for the next few months on Carrot Bars, and that's why I'm doing these. I love doing these back to basics, because it's helping me become a better person. Because one of the key lessons that I learned growing up is teach that which you most need to learn. I'll say it again, teach that which you most need to learn. And that's why I love about this business, because we learn a new system, and the more we teach people about the system, the more we learn about it. And it's the same for personal development in our lives. So I encourage all of you to find somebody in your environment that you care about, and teach them this technique. Go teach them how to reset their minds. It's such a simple and easy technique to use. So I want you guys to sit there, and let's get into the technique, and I'll explain it very briefly. It's such a simple technique. Every single one of us has a happy thought sometime in our lives. And I've actually did this exercise one day, and I said to someone, let's go back in your history and find a happy thought. And they couldn't think of one. We become so conditioned to the negative environment that to sit and actually feel happy is so difficult, because no one teaches us that. They teach us silly things like they used at the weekend. When did Jan van Riebeck arrive at the coast? I mean, who cares? Who cares when he got here? how does that impact my life? It doesn't teach me how to be wealthy. It doesn't teach me how to be healthy. It doesn't teach me how to be happy. And that's one of the key things we don't get taught at school is how to control our emotions, how to be in control of those feelings, how to not react, how to be creative as opposed to reactive. And I'm hoping that this technique that I can now pass on to you guys, that you guys can go and teach it on to others, and we can create a really, really happy, positive environment. So the key is, it's really this simple. All you need to do is think of a happy time in your life when, and many people, I mean, I can use so many examples. One of my happy times was as a little kid before my father died, was walking on the beach eating an ice cream. We used to spend holidays at Umhlanga Beach sort of 40 years ago, and before it became so congested now. And I can remember that was such a happy time for me as a little boy to go and buy a little ice cream, a little cone with, a little white ice cream on it, and sit there with a flaky inside, and then sit and lick that ice cream while I was either sitting watching people. And that brings back a really happy feeling. So the exercise that I'd like you guys to do is just take out a piece of paper, and I want you to write down, put a 1 next to it, and I want you to write down a trigger word that will remind you of a time. It could be when you met your boyfriend or your husband or your wife, or when you saw your baby being born, when you gave birth to your baby, for the ladies, and for the guys, when I can remember being there when my son was born, another time. And I'll share one of the most powerful events for me, just a little bit of background. I got divorced in 2008 when my son was 6 months old. And for about 2 years, I didn't have much access to him. We were fighting a lot, and we were struggling to connect with each other. And there was a lot of anger as people go through in the breakup of a relationship, and a very intense, loving relationship when we started. So, the more the intensity when it starts, the more the intensity when it breaks. And so we went through a difficult time. So I didn't see a lot of Sebastian, and he's now 12. And I can remember eventually we got through it, and I was able to see him, and I wanted to see him and spend time with him. And I was starting to work on myself and become a better person and a better father. And we were never close. He's never been a touchy-feely kind of kid. He doesn't come for attention. You have to go to him for attention, as compared to my other son, Uli, who I adopted. He's this, I call him my little happiness, because he's just this bubble of joy. He's just so connected, and so very conscious of himself and his connection. He just absolutely loves life. He will run up and give you a hug, and often he comes up to me and he looks at me and he walks up and he says, Dad, I like you. And then he'll run off and go and play. And then other times you'll be sitting there and we'll be doing something together, and you go, Dada, I love you. I never had that with Sebastian. So this particular moment in time is so very powerful and important for me, because I'll never forget, Sebastian was about 4.5, and I was staying in my previous house, and we were going to visit a friend. And I was driving in the car. He was sitting in the back behind me. And I'll never forget where this exact moment occurred. It was in a particular place here in Pretoria. And for those of you that don't know, I'm actually in Pretoria for a couple of days. I'm flying to Durban tomorrow to go and attend a mastermind, and then flying back to Pretoria on Sunday to build my network and see if I can get as many people as I can before I come back to Cape Town next Thursday. So I grew up in Pretoria. So we were going to go and visit a friend, and he was sitting behind me. And I'll never forget this. It actually brings up a lot of emotion, so forgive me. He put his left hand on my right shoulder, and in that instant, I could feel his love for me, and it just brought tears to my heart, tears of joy. I could just feel the love and the joy in my heart, and tears just flowed down. Fortunately, I was driving an automatic car, so I didn't have to put my hand. So I took my left hand and I put it on his right hand. And we drove like this for about 8 or 9 kilometers. And it was just one of the most beautiful moments in my life that I can remember. And it brings up such joy in my life. So these are the kind of moments that I want you to find one. It could be the day that you got married, and write it down. So write that trigger word down. So this is what you do. So what we're going to do is, in the instant that you acknowledge or recognize that you're having a negative thought, I want you to bring up that trigger thought that you have and hold it for as long as you can. Okay, so let's do this quickly. To make it easier for you in this moment, I want you to, who does not have a happy moment? Just tell me if I can help you, guide you through trying to find a happy moment. I can make some suggestions. You're welcome to unmute yourself and speak, or otherwise type in the chat window. Does everyone have a trigger moment? Please, before I carry on, I'd like to make sure everybody has one. Could you guys just put something in the chat? Just say yes, put a yes in the chat window if you guys have a trigger moment. Okay, yes, you do have many. Wonderful. Okay, great. Okay, there seems to be a lot of people. Is there anyone that doesn't have a trigger moment yet? That could me help talk you through it. Please, don't be shy, please. This is an awesome forum. A lot of loving, caring people here. No one's going to judge you. Please feel free to speak up. And if you're struggling, let me rather help you through it. Okay, so it doesn't seem like anyone's struggling. Okay, so next to number one, write your trigger moment. So what I want you guys to do is, I want you to sit there, close your eyes, and go in, and I'm going to time it. I'm going to take 15 seconds on my phone. Okay, we're going to use a countdown, and just so that you can get to feel how long or how short to you 15 seconds is. Okay, so when you guys are ready, okay, close your eyes and bring up your trigger thought. Okay, great. That was 15 seconds. Okay, so would anyone like to comment on how they feel right now? I'd love to hear from someone. Someone unmute themselves and share with me how they felt before they started the thought, and how they feel now.
Can I share, Ian?
Yeah, go for it, Kylie.
Okay, so I was happy. I'm busy having my dinner, but
Yeah,
closing my eyes, I felt now like I feel very happy and very peaceful, and it's quite surreal actually.
okay, great. So you can actually feel the difference between where you were and where you are now after 15 seconds?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so were you able to keep that thought for the full 15 seconds, or did you find your mind wandering off a bit?
Well, there's a lot of memory around the thought, so I could probably go on
wow.
for more than 15 seconds.
Okay, great. Was there anyone in the audience that struggled, that got to 1 or 2 seconds and they felt themselves thinking about how long this is going to take, or what they're going to do after the session? Anybody struggle to get to the first full 15 seconds? So while you type in the chat window, I can tell you that in the first time I did this, the maximum I could get to was about 2 seconds. And I found my mind wandering, and I had to sit and do this over and over and over and over again to get the effect of the full 15 seconds. Okay, so what I'd like you to do, and you guys can do this after the call, or we can discuss it now, is imagine if you could take 30, 15 seconds, or 60, let's go 60, let's be crazy. That's like, if you take a full A4 page, that's 2 pages of 30 on one page, 30 on it. 30, 15-second memories, okay, of positive, happy thoughts. Now remember, it is a positive thought, but it's also a happy thought. It must bring out a feeling of happiness. Like when I was talking about Sebastian, you could feel that I was getting emotional, and it was a happy emotional. It was a good feeling when he put his hand on my shoulder, and I can remember the love in that moment, and I'll never forget it for as long as I live. That moment, that's my first trigger thought. Now what I'd like you guys to do is, in the next few weeks, and maybe we can do a catch-up call in next month sometime, and help you and guide you, or you're welcome to get hold of me privately if you're struggling, and we'll guide you through. I'd like you to make a list of 60. That's 60. Now, 60, 15 seconds is 15 minutes. Now, imagine the momentum you're going to build up if you did that every single morning. If you sat every single morning and you thought of 15 minutes of happy thoughts. Now, I remember I said 17 seconds leads to 17 seconds, and 68 seconds leads to massive momentum. Imagine you do that for 15 minutes every morning. You sit and remember happy times. Okay. Happy thoughts that you, like I do. I made a list of 60, and I used to have trigger words. You don't go and write the whole story because you'd fill pages and books of things. All I want you to do is write a trigger thought. So for me, Sebastian in car was a trigger thought. Another one, walking on beach with ice cream. That's a trigger sentence. So anybody want to share a couple of memories that they have, happy memories? I'd love to hear from you guys if you'd like to share. Please don't be shy. There must be someone out there that would like to share. I mean, we've got quite a few. This is a wonderful call. We've got 45 people on the call. Love to hear from someone. Nope, no one want to share?
Hello?
Yes, hi.
Hi, it's Claire. How are you?
I'm wonderful, and you, Claire?
Very well, thank you. So obviously I have quite a few. I've got 4 kids, but my main one was when I received my MasterCard from Carrot Bars International.
Oh, wow,
For
well
me,
done. Yeah.
for me, that was absolutely wonderful. And that was my happy trigger thought for the whole entire week.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. How many times have you actually gone and pulled that thought up?
The whole week, actually.
And how's it made you feel? I mean, how's your day? How's your week been?
My week has actually been fantastic.
Brilliant.
Obviously, there are dull moments, but regarding, it's actually brought more belief in everything else that I'm currently doing.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, that's momentum, right? That's
Yes,
law of attraction, bringing through that feeling.
absolutely. And I love the book The Secrets. It's absolutely amazing. And I
That was a
often
great
go
book.
back into, little verses that, people tend to forget.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah,
Just
that was mine.
wonderful. Thank you, Claire. Thanks for sharing. Anybody
Pleasure.
else like to share a trigger memory that they have that they know that they're written down as number 1 or number 2, number 3, doesn't matter. Anybody? Love to hear from you. Okay. It seems we've got a very shy audience this evening, and that's also okay. Okay, Rob said birth of my daughters. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, birth of my son. So I'll never forget this. Actually, a funny story. So we Sasha we planned to have Sebastian cesarean section, and they normally do it sort of 4 weeks before, just to prevent full term. And so we had scheduled the surgery 4 weeks before, and the week before that we went to go and do the final check-up with the gynae, and Sasha and I walked in, and he took one look at her and he said, "Whoop, you're not going anywhere, straight to surgery. We're taking Sebastian out right now." And so I panicked and rushed off and went home and got the bag, and she was checked into the maternity ward, and I wheeled her in, and I had to come in and I got back about half an hour later, 45 minutes later, and had to put this kit on, because now you have to clean and go in, and you put this gown on, and you put this hood on, and even though you don't have hair, you've got hair follicles or skin that falls off. They don't want that. So what I accidentally did was, and I didn't know what I was doing, is I put the little head copy on my feet, and then so I was walking around this maternity ward with this head thing, and it was hysterics. So everyone thought that was very funny. But yeah, the moment that Sebastian was pulled out, and when he was born, was despite dealing with the shock of what they were doing to her, was a wonderful moment for me. And as a new dad, I got to do the first bath and the first feed and change the first nappy, and that was Sasha was all cut up and everything, and so she was recovering in the ward. So I'm very grateful for that. That's also one of my trigger memories as well. Anybody? Jacqueline, I see you said you've got many. Would you like to share one, or Rob, would you like to share one? Love to hear from you guys. This is an interactive session, by the way, just so that you know. Okay, no one?
Ian, must I share?
Yes. Yeah, please, Kylie, go for it. Yeah,
No one else is sharing.
no one. We got a shy audience today, and which is fine.
No,
It's
I was
okay.
busy having my dinner. Again, I'm finished dinner now. I might cry though because it's quite happy. But anyway,
Yeah, good. Go for it.
So very good memory. Like long ago, my family used to go down to the south coast, and we used to camp amongst the little vervet monkeys in a place called Pennington.
Yeah, I know Pennington. Yes.
Yeah, it's a
Lovely
place called
area,
Happy
yeah.
Wonders.
Yeah, I know
And,
it. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, we used to camp there for about maybe 4 or 5 weeks in the December school holidays, and just a very happy memory because I mean, obviously, like my mum since passed away, and yeah, it's very special and very happy memories of childhood for myself and my sister. So
wonderful.
Yeah, that's one, and then another one is probably also the birth of my daughter.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, and then also just moving from Joburg down to Cape Town and having like all these new experiences as well.
So when did you actually move, Kylie? Just out of interest.
2005.
Oh wow! So you've been there a long time. Wow, it's like 14
Yeah, I'm long time Cape Townian already.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thanks, Kylie. Thanks for sharing. Yes,
Cool.
Rob, you raised your hand. Yeah, please go ahead, Rob. If you can't unmute yourself, just let me know. I can unmute you. Okay, Rob, you're unmuted. Would you like to go ahead?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, Rob.
Jeepers creepers, I'm having a tech failure here. Sorry, guys.
No worries.
I'm doing this on my cell phone. That's quite funny. I was getting very frustrated. I nearly tossed the cell phone across the room.
Well, it's good time to have your
I was going to say,
use the technique.
Yeah. Besides the birth of my two daughters, one of the happiest moments I ever had is giving up my job, which was like slave labor compared to working with Carrot Bars. And I've had a great day all on my own, approaching people. When I say all on my own, all approaching people and speaking to people and sharing the opportunity at Carrot Bars with them. And it's wonderful. It's a great feeling to be helping people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? I'm glad you said that. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for sharing. One of the things that I love about this business and about the personal development environment is you're dealing with people that want to get better. So they're willing to engage, and they're willing to want to get better, and they're willing to do something to improve their lives, as opposed to, one of the things that I noticed over the many years of working in the corporate world was people are there because they feel they have to be there. So they don't always want to be there. They focus purely on getting out of there, doing their job and getting out. They don't want to engage with people. And it's very frustrating when you're doing training in a corporate environment. And I've done a lot of training in a corporate environment, specifically in the technical side or IT side. These people don't want to be in the room. They're there because they have to be. They don't want to learn because they have to be, and it's frustrating. Whereas you come into an environment like the weekend we've just had, and you have 2,000-3,000 people in a room that want to grow.
That was crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, you were there. Were you there on the weekend?
Yeah, I was. It was amazing. It was really amazing.
It was. It's incredible. I mean,
all these people that have got rid of corporate syndrome. And I had it for years, and I see it every day in other people, and it's just crazy. It's just crazy how people have been indoctrinated.
Absolutely, yeah. It's wonderful to watch someone who's let go of that and to see them flourish, and that's why I love teaching, because specifically this technique, because you can teach it to anybody, and it's a simple technique. Yeah, it's a really simple technique. Just go back to a happy moment in your life and bring out that feeling that you had when you experienced it, and change the momentum.
Yeah, crazy. I've been in Carrot Bars for 6 months, and a good friend of mine who's also in the business, Russell Jacob. A lot of these people know.
Oh, Russell, yeah, I know Russell.
Yeah. He always has a great saying, and he says, here's a personal development program disguised as a business.
That's right. I've heard that several times. Yeah, it's a wonderful analogy. Yeah, it is. It's it. Well, I actually used that today. I just signed up someone today, and I've known the guy for many, many years, and he's been following me. I mean, I had a previous company that was a kind of a motivational company, and this is where I did the research and learned all these techniques. And he's been following me for years, and he actually said to me when we got in the car and drove off, he said to me, Ian, so thank you so much for sharing this opportunity with me. I cannot wait to work with you. Cannot wait to build a business with you. And this is why we do this, is to change people's lives and to be in an environment that's positive and happy, and being in a family of people that want to improve and want to get better. And you know what that does is when we go to, and this is what I found, it's what I love about these evenings as well, is I've noticed in myself, if I skip a day or two where I don't speak to someone about Carrot Bars, or I don't go to a presentation, I can find myself getting negative. So going to these events and spending time in that energy is
absolutely
it's good for us, because it helps us motivate us and keep us going.
Yeah, I go to two meetings a week, a Tuesday and a Wednesday night, and I find when we don't have our monthly Saturday, that the drag from the Wednesday to the following Tuesday is definitely, you eventually need the Tuesday to motivate yourself again. It's
That's
crazy.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Starts to become a necessity more than a sort of a drag, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thanks, Rob. Thanks so much for sharing.
Even just this last Tuesday, sorry if I can just share 10 seconds.
Yeah, please. Yeah, go for it.
This last Tuesday, we'd come out of a long weekend and had a lot of stuff to do, and I just about said to myself, I'm not going to go on Tuesday night, because I just really felt like I'd had enough, and about 10 seconds from making that decision, finally, old Jacques Sasson came on with a video saying, guys, I know what you're thinking. You better be there tonight. And it was great. That's what convinced me to go. And then I was so glad after the fact that I'd been there. So it was magic. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to share that I have never left a presentation, whether I've given it or been part of it, negative. I've always left it more positive and in a better state of mind than when I went there. When I've often been to presentations where I didn't want to be there, the circumstance in my life said, I don't want to be there. It's a long way to drive. I've got other things to do. Yeah. And then I get there and I think, I'm so grateful that I made the choice to come here. And I'm so grateful for the lovely people that you get to interact with, and the love in the room, and the excitement, and the energy, and that flow. It's just beautiful. We are very fortunate and very grateful for this business. I certainly am.
Me too. And now I've met so many great people. It's been a life-changing experience, I must say.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, wonderful, Rob. Thanks so much for sharing.
Cool.
Is there anyone else that? Yeah, my pleasure, man. Is there anyone else that wants to come on and share? I'll give it a few seconds before we carry on. We've still got about 20 minutes, guys. As you can see, the technique's very simple, very short. Anybody else want to share trigger memory that they've used? Love to hear from you. If you put your hand up, Catherine, I see you. Okay, you got a thumbs up there. Let's see. I don't see anybody else with it. Let's have a look. See.
Yeah.
Yes, Thomas.
Hey, hi there, guys. How are you guys?
Oh, very well, and you?
Okay. Well, put it this way. I created the cheat thought, in a sense that I'm also daddy of four kids, 3 boys, 1 girl. So there's a lot of kid memories and happy times and all that kind of stuff. But something that I did a couple of years ago, I worked at a corporate environment, very regulated, financial institution, very miserable people.
Yep.
And the one thing that I started to do is I had the opportunity to actually buy myself a brand new car. So I deal with my car every single day because I drive my car. And it was such an achievement for me, having gone through a very tough financial time before I was granted the opportunity to actually, have the means to buy a brand new car. And every time I walk to my car, I drive my car, I'm just, having grateful thoughts. And I found that that helped me cope with that extremely negative, depressing environment that I had to deal with on a daily basis. So every time I see my car, I smile. Every time I drive my car, I smile, and I'm just engrossed in that happy, grateful feeling. And that kept me going.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I wonder, so I wanted to share something. Sorry, I was just looking at the chat window there. Apologize. You know, one of the things that I remember when it started, it was about sort of 2-3 months into the previous job that I had. I made a choice that I am going to go to work happy. Even though I have to drive into town in traffic from Melkbos all the way into town, I'm going to get to the office every single day, and I'm going to walk in and I'm going to shout or speak loudly, and I'm going to say happy whatever day it was. And it's amazing to see the change and shift in people when I did that. You know, everybody responded to it. At first it was, you know, I did today. I walked into I can't remember, Pick n Pay or something, and I greeted somebody, and they wear a name tag, and I greeted them by their name, and I looked at them and I said, "Happy Thursday." And the woman looked at me and she was like confused. And then suddenly she realized what I'd said and just got this beaming smile. And I could feel a complete energy shift. You know, most people don't engage with tellers. They just put their stuff down, they give them their card, they swipe their card, and they leave. You know, they don't engage with people. And there's this woman desperate for attention, you know, desperate to be noticed. And me saying happy Thursday just shifted her energy completely. And then that shifted my energy, because now I was excited that I'd helped someone. And I started doing that in the office every single day religiously. I'd go in every single day, and I built such an incredible positive environment in the office, irrespective of the fact that I got retrenched, which was actually a blessing in disguise. And funny enough, you know, I want to share that story actually with you. It was probably about 6 weeks ago, 5-6 weeks ago. It was a Monday morning. I remember Sasha was in Spain, and I was looking after the boys. And I was going to work from home that day. So I'd just taken the boys to school, come back, and made myself a cup of coffee, sitting on the stoop, checking the golf course out. And I went inside and I sat at my desk and I started logging on to my Karatbars account and checking out things and moving stuff and doing some crypto trading. And I suddenly sat back and I had this thought. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning. I went, I want to do this permanently. I don't want to work in a job anymore. I love this. And I had such a wonderful feeling. Well, you talk about the law of attraction. 2 hours later, I get an email asking me to come to Joburg, and a letter in says that we are considering retrenching you. So within 2 hours of me having this thought that I want to do this permanently, I get a retrenchment letter. I mean, how's that for manifestation? So we've got to be very careful what we think about when it's attached with a feeling. Very powerful law of attraction, whether we believe it or not.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, it basically comes down to, you know, thoughts, having that feeling and having that emotion. It is literally an exponential power that you add to what you have been thinking about.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because so one of the part of that energy that's literally going out, because emotion flows out. And, you know, where your focus is, that's where your emotions are. And if you're in that space, boy, it happens fast.
It does, yeah. I can see, thanks, Thomas. Thanks for sharing. Ezra, I see that you've got a couple of questions, or you'd like to share something. Would you mind unmuting yourself and sharing? Yeah, Claire, what you sow, you will reap. Absolutely, 100%, yeah. Do I need to unmute you? Let me see. Maybe I need to unmute you. Let's go find you.
Hi, Ian.
Yeah,
and everybody
Ezra.
else.
There you are.
It's so nice seeing you. It's so nice seeing you. We've been missing you in Cape Town.
I tell you what, I used to live in Pretoria. I lived here for 48 years. I didn't know that I was ever going to move anywhere else. And I am so grateful that I now live in Cape Town. I can't tell you how much I miss Cape Town and you guys. I miss you so much, man.
Thank you for sharing your story. It was so beautiful. No, I was just saying, I had a guy that's on the chat today. His name is Rayan, and he's a young guy and he's new and he's very excited to get started. So I said to him, it's best to, log on to these the webinars and learn as much as you can and ask as much questions as you can.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mommy,
Beautiful. Salt of the earth.
Mommy, the polish.
Lovely, man. Ezra, do you want to share your story?
Which one? There's so many.
No, okay. So were you here when I was talking about the technique, the MRT, the mind reset technique, or did you miss that?
No, I was sorry, I missed that. I was busy with my kids. So you want to just give me an update, and I can see how I can fill in or participate in that?
No. So very quickly, let's have what's the time? Let me check the time. Okay, we got 10 minutes left. So let me have a quick recap for everyone. Everyone that was on the call. Let's quickly run through the technique. So this is a very simple technique. And what it is about going back and finding in our lives a happy memory. A happy memory that when we think the thought brings up a feeling of happiness. It's very important that when you think that thought, that it generates a feeling of happy. You must experience, like earlier on, Kylie said that, when she talks about the time in Pennington, she's going to get emotional. That's the kind of feeling, and it's a happy feeling. When I was talking about and sharing my story with Sebastian, I could feel the tears welling up, and I could feel this emotion. That's the kind of feeling that we want to have. So essentially how you do it is you make a list of 60 of these. It's a 15-second. You just have to think of it for 15 seconds, hold that thought for 15 seconds, and then it will generate momentum. And if you can have a multiple of those, make a list of 60 of them, that's 15 minutes of feeling good. And if you could do that every day to start your day, your life will never be the same in a few months' time. Ever. You'll walk around one of the happiest people around. And especially with knowing that you've got this technique to fall on. So how you use it? Well, the instant that you notice that you're having a negative thought, you can immediately go to this positive thought. And it's kind of like resetting the mind, because you're shifting that energy from building up this negative momentum and turning it into positive momentum so that you can generate positivity and a good feeling and feeling happy. So do you have a thought or a memory that you want to share with us quickly, Azra?
Oh, wow, that's very powerful. It reminds me a lot of what we did with the Robin Banks Mind Power. And you were saying it's so important to actually sit in the present, reflect upon, go to an instant in the past that was that life-changing moment, and then go to that place and tell yourself, you are at the right place at the right time. And you're actually talking to yourself from the future to the past, and you're depositing a happy memory. It's like depositing money into a bank, You're filling up that bank account. So that's very powerful. My story would definitely be like, because it's about carrot bars, I would definitely think back to the day I had met with Lisa. It was the 14th of February, and we were invited to this networking event. And I was so obviously we were all there. We were going to be interviewed for creatively confident women.
Yeah.
And I was so nervous, but the two of us just connected. And when I got home, when my husband fetched me, all I spoke about was not the day. It was about the connection Lisa and I had.
Yeah.
So that was very powerful to me. And I always go back and think how things had then just gone from there, because then it was we connected via social media. Thereafter it was the introduction to the carrot bars, and now I have a variety of happy deposits when I'm around her and around you guys. So
Beautiful.
That's just great. Yeah.
Okay, great. So what I'd encourage you guys to do is as I said earlier, get a A4 page and write 1 to 30 on the front, and then 31 to 60 on the back, and then go and make a list of trigger words, of memories. And it might take some time. You won't maybe get all 60 in one day. This is a process. You do it over a couple of weeks. The key is to be able to sit and hold that thought for 15 to 17 seconds. If you can put multiple of those 15 seconds together, you'll create incredible momentum. And especially the key here is it must trigger a feeling in you. It mustn't just be a positive thought. It must trigger a feeling, because that's what we want to do. Because we live in a vibrational world, and a feeling is vibrational. And when we connect to that vibration, we attract more of that vibration. So that it works both ways. So this is not a world of a universe of exclusion. It's a world of attraction. So what that means basically is you will attract what you're experiencing. Okay, that which is likened to itself is drawn, and that basically means is that whatever feeling that you're having, if you have it for an extended time, you're going to attract more of it. So the key here is to think of a happy feeling that triggers a feeling in you of happiness and joy and peace and love, and then keep that for 15 seconds and add another one. You know, it might be a short memory, like you could get through the memory in 10, 15 seconds. You may have a memory like mine is quite extensive. When I think of and I can remember clearly the smells, the sights, the sounds, with Sebastian putting his hand on my shoulder. I can remember driving down the street. I can actually remember the exact road that I took, the trees, the colors of the trees and everything, the robots and what the robots were doing, and everything. All the traffic lights were turned green for me as I went there, because I was generating this positive momentum and this beautiful, loving, happy thought. So that's the kind of thing that it could last on for 3-4 minutes, and that's wonderful. Let that do, and then go on to the next one, the next one, and the next one. And eventually, if you've built up a list of 60, 15 seconds, you've got 15 minutes that you could sit every day and generate this positive momentum going forward. And then you pick up the phone and you start phoning people, and you will see how your business will change. You know, one of the key trainings, I'm doing a course called Q Momentum at the moment, and if you're feeling bad and have a negative thought, don't pick up the phone, because you're pushing that energy forward to the person that you're trying to talk to. They'll just be argumentative back to you. And I'm sure you guys have all noticed that we've all had to speak to people. When you're in a good, positive, happy mood and you walk up to and approach people, they can feel your energy, they can feel your vibration, and they will respond to that vibration. So this is a good technique to do before you go prospecting. Is to go sit in a coffee shop before you go out there and prospect. Sit and just close your eyes and think of those happy moments that you have, and then bring that vibration, and then go and introduce yourself to people and start talking to people, and you'll be amazed at the results that you will get. All right, guys, I think that's about it. We've got about 5 minutes left to go. Is there anybody else that wants to chat about something in general, or ask any questions, or share their experience of this call? I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you think of the technique, and if there's any topics that you guys would like me to cover in future. Susie I'll do the call next week, and then Susie will be back the week after that. I think she's back on the 4th. I don't know if the 4th is a Wednesday. Kashifa. Someone's snoring there. Let me just mute her there quickly. Okay, cool. Anybody else want to share? Anybody like to share anything that, any experiences that they've had during the call, what they think, how it worked for them, how they felt before?
Can I ask a question?
Yes. Sure, yeah, go for it, Kylie.
It's me again. I was talking with Gerald last night at the presentation, and he was telling me about very awesome things that's happened in his personal life. And he was talking, and I know that he understands about vibration and going with it. So the technique you've now spoken about tonight, is that that obviously help us with that entire process, right? Absolutely.
So many people find it very difficult to understand the concept of vibration. And this is kind of like just a very practical way of doing it. It's kind of, when you start feeling it, you'll start feeling the vibration in you, and you'll notice that, and it'll help you get through anything, just any situation, really. So yes, definitely. It's not something that, this technique's not actually something that Abraham teaches. It's something I learned through my years of doing research and personal development. And something I picked up that worked very well for me. It's kind of, Abraham talks about 17 seconds. So if you have a thought or a feeling or experience of 17 seconds, whether it's positive or negative, in other words, is the feeling making you feel good, or is it making you feel bad? It doesn't matter. After 17 seconds, it creates enough momentum to create another 17. And then when you get to 68 seconds, there's so much momentum carrying, that's probably going to be the way that you spend your whole day. So we've got to be very careful the feeling that we have based on the thought. So this just helps get through. You can use it anywhere, in a coffee shop before you go and present or talk to people. It's good to create a positive and happy feeling, happy vibration in you. I hope that answers your question, Gali.
Yeah, it does. May I ask another one?
Sure,
Are there other techniques that you possibly have? I mean, I'm on the Abraham Hicks group, and there's awesome things that we share there. And it's, I listen to it every day. Are there other small techniques that you can maybe share with us on another evening as well, just to work with vibration as well?
Yeah, there are plenty. There are plenty of techniques. Yeah.
Okay,
plenty.
Cool.
Yeah, awesome. Definitely. Yeah, we can go offline and we can list a whole bunch of them. And I'm happy to do another Zoom call on techniques. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm here to
great.
share, here to help.
Helpful.
Yeah, wonderful. Good. I'm glad.
So
yeah. All right, guys. Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, guys. Thanks very much for participating. And I certainly had fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I will. So I'm going to end the recording now, and then it will send an email off to Susie, because I'm using Susie's account, GI Hugeness account. And then when she gets the email, she'll forward me the link, and then I'll post the link in the groups, and you guys can go ahead and watch the recording again, or pass it on to your teams that weren't able to get on the recording. What I would really like you guys to do, for those of you that were on the whole call, please teach this to other people. We teach that which we most need to learn. The learning's in the teaching. So the more we teach techniques like this, the more we learn, and it impacts our lives better and better and better. That's why I love doing these Zoom calls with you guys. All right, guys, have a wonderful, beautiful evening, and see you all soon.
Thank
Cheers.
you.